Good morning, everyone. That was too much of a
Extreme
Zoom first thing in
close-up.
the morning. Yeah, that was way too much of a Zoom. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea. I have the coffee going here. Back to being the greatest dad. Took a couple of days off. Back at it on the hump day. And we have our seltzer guy or
I'm
the
back to
water guy.
water today.
Ran out
Got a
of
lot,
seltzers in the
got a lot of
refrigerator or what?
important things to do today. Yeah,
Gonna
getting
prep
getting
for the
bevved
day.
up at 9 o'clock in the morning is probably not the best idea for me on this one. So
It's
going
game
back to a
day,
little
man.
bit of
You gotta prep.
responsibility for once.
Exactly. See, that's the attitude we want from everyone. Just kind of like get in the mood that way. Well, let's take a look. Alan is with us in the morning. Good morning, Alan. So let's get to the headlines right away, and then we'll talk a little bit about the game. It's more the game talk is going to be more about. I'm assuming we're on the same page in terms of just wanting a bunch of
Yeah,
kids out there and not risking anybody. But we'll talk about that, like some of the possible names and who we like to see. But we talked about this yesterday where teams like the national team should probably wait till the weekends once all the games are over to announce the lineup. I don't think Senegal already had anyway, but Mane is taken out of the Bayern game with an injury. So he was subbed out early and he was limping. They were checking into it, and now it comes out that he will not be at the World Cup as well. This World Cup is freaking cursed. Let's stop it before something bad happens during the World Cup. But what do you say about that? I mean, I feel bad for Mane. I mean, uh, while part of me is happy that I don't have to hear about it entire World Cup after Senegal plays every game, how we should have re-signed them and all that kind of good stuff.
yeah. It you got to feel for the guy. It's something where it's the penultimate game before the break, and it's against a team that they ended up beating 6-1, where he probably didn't even need to be in the lineup. And yeah, it's just every single awful trope that you want. E- Everybody that's like an alarmist football fan goes, "Oh no, you can't play against this team with this. They do that." And you just rattle off the laundry list of reasons why he shouldn't have played. And but I just think that goes against his character. I think if he would
Yeah.
have, they would have come over and go, "Oh, well, we're just going to sit you for these next 2 games." He'd just been like, "Why? I'm healthy."
And
And
that's another thing. Like, I
just
mean,
yeah,
your
shit
teammates,
happens.
what are your
Sorry.
teammates going to say? Oh, you're going to take it easy today? Because, it's just like, you want to be out there. And like you say, these guys are competitive guys. They don't want to sit out. And they, in most ways, while they're afraid of injury, I think some of these guys feel semi invincible, right? And when you play not to get hurt is usually when you do get hurt. In my experience, worse things happen when you don't, because I think you play out of your norm and you play out of the game's norm as a whole. So while you're trying to not get in there, you're actually getting in the situation worse sometimes or going in there more awkwardly because your mind and body is not coordinating. Whereas normally you just play natural and you're like, you might dive into a tackle, but that's your natural thing and you do it normal. You do it how you always done it and you don't get injured. When it's in your head that, oh, I got to be careful, you kind of dive weird because your body doesn't coordinate. And that's actually when you do get injured. But yeah, it's kind of like a bummer for him for sure, especially these guys. I feel like we were talking about Bobby yesterday. I feel like some of these older guys, this is their last World Cup. Um, but Mane have another one go there, like like Valencia is going with Ecuador and stuff like that as the older brother, or maybe like coming off the bench or something like that is possible. But A, they got to qualify, and B, well, he's still got to be healthy. So none of them are like givens. We're talking like 4 years from now. One team that did make it, I was actually just asking about this to my brother the other day because, as I mentioned, like Valencia, who's their captain. Plays for Fenerbahce. So while we were watching, I'm like, is this dude going to the World Cup? What happened with that Ecuador thing? So I guess this is what happened with that Ecuador thing. They do keep the World Cup spots, but they get like a 3 points penalty in the next qualifiers, which means they probably won't qualify. But what do you make of it? Fair? Not fair? What's your take?
I think the whole thing to begin with, just it was a bureaucratic type of complaint from Chile to begin with. And yeah, if that would have been something that kind of strip them of that. And then there would have just been like trickle down effects from there. Like, okay, so the team that lost out because Chile wasn't directly behind them. So are you going to just leapfrog them because you filed the complaint? All the teams that kind of got put into the playoff pool, do they have to, in your mind, go play again? Because Ecuador would have, and it was just something where this was the easiest way to do it. Because, like you said, with the way South America is, 3 points there and you're Ecuador, that's pretty much a death sentence.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, if you give 3 points to like Brazil or Argentina, they could probably absorb that and still get through Ecuador. When you 1 point could be the difference between like fourth and eighth in common goal. That's not, and I think that's fair enough for them to kind of just get that as their ultimate, not necessarily a slap on the wrist, but the old smack with the ruler from the nun.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was more of a like bureaucratic is probably a good way to put it. They just
They didn't register this player correctly.
yeah, it was almost like the divorce lawyer hiring a private investigator to get some dirt or something to make a better case or get more out of the ordeal. It just felt like that. And if I almost feel like if you do this, then every country is going to try to dig some dirt on the other one and stuff like that. Open like a can of worms. I think it's like, oh, good. I'm glad you guys pointed that out. I'll bring it. It was more of I'll bring it to the attention of the management kind of thing. And then it, like you're saying, to Ecuador. And I mean, I don't know. Obviously, they're not saying 3 points will do them in, dude. Let's do 3 points. But Brazil, Argentina can probably overcome that, but it's really tricky for Ecuador to a team that kind of squeaks into that frame normally anyway. So 3 points, like you said, is probably a death sentence to start with. But we kind of talked about this yesterday because Alan is in the comment section breaking news and headlines from the next morning somehow, like messaging from the future. I know like the word came out more and more throughout the day that the Qatar World Cup is a mistake, and I obviously everybody was like, yeah, but then when you listen to the reasoning of it's too small of a country, football and the World Cup are too big for it, he says, as he's as an envelope is sticking out of his back pocket. But I mean, we talked about this before, and then while we even talked about it, I think yesterday. But while I agree, I think Sparky was in the comments saying, once the game starts, it will be more just football being talked. But as I read news every day now, I am not so sure. Not to mention, they're like the country is doubling down. They're not really like kind of like keeping it low key. They're not like, oh, it's World Cup. Let's all hold hands and sing, gay or not, stuff. No, they're doubling down. They're like that's haram and stuff like that. So I think these guys will not be able to help themselves. And these questions are going to be asked because every media is looking for these stories. What do you say? I mean, do you think we're going to get more and more? Because Qatar is not going to back off. Sparky says all about the payoff. It would have been in England if Qatar didn't win it. I mean anywhere, but yeah, I mean, just the timing of it by itself shows that there was like some serious payoff, and everybody knows the reasoning behind it. You think this is going to get worse and worse, or will football kind of make it go away? Because as Alan points out, he doesn't say anywhere in there, at least all the quotes that I saw, that Qatar was a wrong choice because they're like all the human rights stuff and how they build the stadiums. I mean, everything. You can just go on and on and on and on. And he's just like, it's just too small. I wish there was a couple more cities, kind of a thing.
Yeah, that guy Blatter's a guy that just has never gave a good account of himself in any capacity. And yeah, the Qatari Federation is one right now where they're just being so defiant. Well, FIFA tries to get everybody to like just go kumbaya and be like, you know what, we're just gonna celebrate the world's game. Like Qatar's like, I don't give a shit that that guy that built the stadium died. Okay, no, you missed the memo, Qatar. We're trying to just be harmonious, and we're trying to talk about all these great games we're gonna have. Yeah, gay people still have no rights here. All right, Qatar, we're gonna try this one more time. I don't know. Send out some profiles of your players that nobody knows. Something, anything. And just every day, it's just something different that they just want to hammer home the point that, we got this and there's nothing you can do about it now. We're going to play these games in stadiums that were built on slave labor, and you're going to watch and you're going to love it. And you're going to want to come to Qatar and be our best friends and snitch on your friends. Just, yeah, it's so many layers of just arrogance and just complete blissful ignorance of what everybody is trying to like say about that regime and the way things were done in not only getting the World Cup but getting the infrastructure and now having the tournament on the precipice. And they have all this chance to, even if it's fake contrition, just be like, you know what, we'll sit here and we'll look at it like there's things that we did that are regrettable, yada yada yada. Do the fake canned speech or anything, but no, they're just going completely 180, complete defiance. Just no, officer, I didn't hit that telephone pole. That telephone pole hit me. Like,
The thing
it's
is, I mean,
stupid.
we were kind of talking about this yesterday in terms of ownership, which apparently there's like multiple offers for Liverpool from people in Dubai and stuff. I'm not even going into those headlines and stuff this morning because there's a bunch of people in the
Yeah,
media right now Googling rich Arab. And then,
yeah,
whatever comes out, they're like, hey, he might be interested. He has like 65 billion, and so
yeah.
when it happens, when something gets more legit, I guess we'll talk about it a bit more. Until then, it's like rich people problems as they make bids and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So we'll see what happens with that. But when we were talking about, one of these guys possibly, buying Liverpool or buying any other club, really, um, it's not really how FSG buys a club. It's not a financial investment. It's more of a self ego boosting and making yourself important and kind of like buying a toy. I don't know, if we had a gazillion dollars sitting around, maybe we'll buy a team too. You're like, well, what the hell, let's go buy a team. It's like buying a big screen for these guys in terms of financial investments and how much they're spending. So I think it's the same thing with Qatar. I mean, when they got this World Cup, they're not going to be like, let's lay low and make this thing happen. We're so happy we're hosting this, blah blah. No, it's all about the main guy talking, the head of soccer, blah 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 guy talking. I mean, it's go time. This is their time. So these guys are always going to be in front of the microphone, and nobody is going to ask them, you think that was a penalty yesterday? Should that have been called? No, nobody's going to ask him football questions. Everybody's going to ask him these questions because really these are the ones that they have to answer to.
Yeah.
And these guys are not going to back down with that huge ego like you're saying. They're just going to keep doubling down and saying even more stupid shits, making it even worse. And we're assuming everything goes extremely smooth during the World Cup, which we shall see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's going to be one of those deals where it's taints the whole concept for me. And I think this is probably the least excited I have been about a World Cup. Leave it on a Euro. Like Euro is usually like a World Cup light, not as cool because you don't get as many different types of soccer. Like you don't get the South America flavor, you know what I mean? But like it's just doesn't have the same feeling. That's for sure. This is how came a World Cup in a place that doesn't even have a league. You just you just have money. You don't need a league. You just need money. They have a league though, don't they? Because don't they like a bunch of retirement guys go there, or do they have like a joint with like somebody else or something like
Oh,
that?
they got a league. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I'm sure they have a league where some old guys play and they play amongst
Could
themselves and
I
stuff like
could I
that.
tell you anybody in it? No,
I mean,
but it exists.
it used to
It
be because I
exists.
know like a
They
lot
have
go to Saudi
divisions.
Arabia, like Al Hilal and stuff like that. Those clubs spend some money to bring, people who don't want to maybe come to MLS, don't want to go across the ocean or something, and then like go retire down that way, play a couple of years and stuff like that. But I
Oh,
don't know, it's just
geez.
going to be.
I just clicked on one random team and I saw that Steven Nzonzi's on the roster. So I
Yeah,
guess my
see,
statement of I
Sparky
don't
gets his
know
dig
anybody in
into
there immediately is out the window.
Major League Soccer dig comes in. Hey, you say that, but in 4 years, baby, right?
Yeah.
2026 is the goal. That's when it's going to
Don't let
be.
Jim Curtin hear you say that.
Here's another headline. We're kind of like talking about this earlier. Let me find this over here. Yes, here we go. Lewandowski
Yeah.
got a red against Osasuna, and Piqué got red more than this game. Actually, I was going to ask you this because my brother actually, I wasn't watching it, but apparently he was. He like sent me a text saying, "What the fuck is this? Like they stopped the whole game. This is not like." They treated Piqué's last home game last
Yeah.
weekend as like a testimonial match. Like, they're subbing him out, everything stops. Anybody and their brothers like shaking their hand, taking his hand, giving him a hug and stuff like that. First of all, what do you think of the whole thing? I mean, because once they're out of the Champions League, he was like, you know what? I should probably retire. I mean, if you're a teammate, bro, you were here just for the Champions League.
Yeah, I agree that the timing isn't ideal, but it's if he feels it's time to go, it's time to go. There's no sense kind of burning yourself down any more than you need to if you really aren't like if your head's not in it anymore. I've never been against somebody like retiring mid-season if just that desire just is gone. I'd rather they leave than kind of 40% it for the rest of the year and just kind of kill any more chances for future glory for my team. I'd rather if you're out, you're out by all means. But yeah, that whole it gave me a lot of like Cal Ripken vibes where it's just he hits a home run in his last game in a stadium and then they have to like do like a 47-minute presentation about all the cool things that he did in Milwaukee Fulton County Stadium. And you're like, oh, okay. Can I like go to the bathroom or something? Or is the game going to start before I get back? And that's baseball, your favorite sport, obviously, where you can have that downtime and it's not going to affect anything.
Yeah, it's the
When you're
whole game
taking
is a
like
downtime.
9 minutes in the middle of a match to sub a guy off and just have him go through like and shake everybody's hand that he's known since he was 11, yeah, that's going to cause some problems. Do
Yeah.
sub him off in the 90th minute, like the 94th minute, and blow the whistle as he's going to the sidelines, and then you can do all that. It was just something where I felt that was a bit unnecessarily grandiose, but he's a guy that I think a lot of people downplay how much the defenders were a part of that golden generation for Barcelona. They just look at like Messi and that initial part like Ibrahimovic and like Eto'o and then that great midfield. But the defenders were stalwarts forever, and PK was one of those guys. And as much as he gets kind of the whole like Shakira's husband type of deal, yeah, and yeah, he has fallen off the past couple of years, but it's one of those guys that won everything that he needed to win, and he's going out before he's more of a shell of himself than he already is.
It's I don't know, like I understand what you're saying there. So that's a good point. I'm kind of torn on that concept where somebody says, you know what, my mind is not in it anymore. I should just check out. I should just retire. It's not fair to you guys that I'm not here 100%. But then I think the timing of it is like, unless he told everybody in the beginning of the season, dude, I'm going to give it a run because I really want to make a run in the Champions League. It's not like they were like favorites to win the Champions League or something either. You know what I mean? It's not
No.
like, I don't know, like like the dude is playing for PSG and they're like a favorite because they have all these weapons, blah blah blah. I mean, it's not. It was a team that, yeah, they spent a lot of money, but they were kind of like put together. So unless he went in the locker room and said, "Guys, I'm really playing one more season to win something in the Champions League." To be fair, I couldn't care about La Liga any less. I won it a bunch of times. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'll just leave. But I doubt he said that because it's kind of hard to respect a guy like that in the locker room too. They're like, "You're gonna play this Saturday because it's a league game, you know." But I don't know. I'm just kind of torn on that. While I get what you're saying as a teammate, I'm kind of irked and say, because it's not like he was hurt. It's not like he was barely playing anyway. You know, if something happened, like we get eliminated from the Champions League and Milner says, "You know what, that's really all I had in mind," you'd be like, okay, like the dude comes in, it would be a bit more understandable. I think it still wouldn't like it, and he would never do it. And that's what I mean. He would never do it. Like, you're one of the senior guys on the team. You're part of, or at least you should be part of the leadership. So for you to say mid-season, "You know what, I'm just gonna retire, man. This sucks." It's like, bro, like you didn't know this 3 months ago. I don't know. Like I say, I understand what you're saying. Where if your heart is not in it, might as well not play at all. But at the same time, I think it's shitty, and it's even shittier that, yeah, they did a testimonial, and his very last game for Barcelona, instead of coming in and making one last appearance and shaking hands of Osasuna players, he got a red for dissent as he was sitting on the bench bitching. I mean, that's probably not the way to go out. You're like, "Hey, Dad, how was your last game?" It's like, "Well, son, that's quite the story." Like, it's just like, I got a red off the bench.
Exiting with the grace of a giraffe on roller skates. Gerard Piqué.
Okay, so game day today, it doesn't really totally feel like it's.
Yeah.
I know I saw your comments on our Facebook post in terms of like lineup expectations, and you don't want to see a lot of popular names. Alan's asking about this game. I have still yet to pull out the. I saw the headline and I heard about the game. It's like vintage Boca Juniors, like, huge game in Argentina. It was like 10 red cards is a little obnoxious. There's like huge brawl, like must have broken out because I mean it was very close, all of them too. But I have not been able to watch the highlights to see who killed who to get all those red cards. But going back to the game today, I know you said you don't want to see names you recognize ideally in the lineup, but how much do you care about keep going forward in the League Cup?
So I did a little just research today just to see kind of what the League Cup does to like promote themselves and their website.
Look at you with no seltzer. There's so much more energy.
I know my mind is just razor sharp. Which I wish I could say the same for the Carabao Cup, because when you click lineups, because you're like, okay, I'm going to see like who's been announced for like being on the rosters. It says the lineups from in on their graphic says 2019-20, and it has no lineups. It just has the day's fixtures, and on their front page, they have a picture of Raheem Sterling on Manchester City.
The webmaster
so
quit like 2 years ago.
The sponsors and the people running the cup itself cares about it. Then I'm just going to keep in line with their level of caring.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Sparky Parky says League Cup may be only way into Europe this year. That's actually, I have not heard of that. I think that's an interesting take. I had not heard of it. And I don't know, you're kind of like really going for something for a huge coincidence to work in your favor, it feels like. I don't think. I mean, let's see how this weekend goes too. But you get another 3 points, you're in the race, and then come February, or January, whenever the heck we come back, or is it end of December? Whenever, either way, whenever we get back.
Boxing Day.
Oh, that's right. It's a whole new season starting. Let's see if we do anything else. I still think, we have a proper way of going in there. The thing about the League Cup is we always talk about, was this yesterday or Monday that we were talking about how we sometimes keep, young players and not when we're talking about Curtis Jones and stuff like that, like they don't, instead of loaning him out to the championship to have him like play, get experience and stuff. And then we say, okay, we're going to be in the League Cup. These guys will get minutes in the League Cup and they'll compete there. But when we get eliminated early, then these guys never ever get to play. I just
Yeah.
want us to keep progressing for the sake of getting some of these kids more playing time. If Ramsey's never going to be able to break into the 11 and take Trent spots, then let's have him play these games. But if we're going to be eliminated in the first round, then he's not going to get that. Not to mention, look at the fun we had with the Bournemouth Everton game yesterday. You don't want other people having the same fun.
Yeah, and this is one of those games where you got a Derby County team coming in that's putrid. I was looking, they won one of their last six, and they had some really rough draws in between. And you're going, this should be something where you can go half speed, and if you have just enough on the bench, so if things go wrong, you can go kind of impose your will. And it's one of those things where I want to see a win, just because it feels good to win, but it's not earth shattering if we get knocked out. But to your point, if this is going to be the only, if that Napoli game isn't a situation where we can go get some of these kids who are supposed to be the future of this club some valuable experience, and this is the only competition that we're going to let them get run in. Like you talk about Ramsey, if he can't be a sub in games where we're up like 4-1 and you're just bringing on Milner at right back every time, if this is the only thing that you have for this kid, then yes, I would like to see them go far so that these people get experience, and in the future they can look back and go, hey, at least when I was there, I didn't sit and play one game and my career was over. That's just
I
that's a
just feel
shame.
like it's one of those where, I mean, players build off of momentum too, especially at that age, right? So you keep going in the League Cup, a great performance midweek and stuff like that can kind of like boost the kids when they maybe come in for another 10 minutes in the weekend afterwards, like, off the bench and stuff like that. And they kind of get traction going, confidence going, especially for like the youth guys. I think it's pretty important. And then, that says Klopp will go with youth and experience. And I agree. And I think, that experience should be guys like, I know Milner is not fit. Normally it would be Milner. But I mean, I guess we're counting like maybe like Ox, for example. Great opportunity for him, first of all. And then second of all, like, it's, he's one of the older guys on the team now, who would be like a leader on the field and stuff like that. Probably Hendo is a good shot by Sparky there. I think if it was Milner, I think it would be Milner out there. But because Milner is not, it's probably going to be Hendo out there with them. And he didn't like, get as many minutes over the weekend anyway. So it's kind of like a perfect fit. I just, like I say, I want to see these kids get more playing time. And obviously, like you're saying, it's freaking like winning at the end of the day. So we want to see that. I mean, when you play against these teams, I know you mentioned their form, like this is like their thing. They had this circled on the
Yeah.
calendar for quite some time to show themselves, so they were going to be busting ass, I would think, and play their best game. It's just a matter of, you would think the quality of the difference should still shine, but you never know in these games. But, going back to what I was saying, you're probably going to have like Gomez in the back, right?
Yeah, if I had to put
Gomez and
together,
Nat Phillips.
yeah, I'd say your back line's probably Ramsey, Gomez, Phillips, Costas.
Okay.
Kelleher's already been confirmed in goal. The midfield, it seems that a lot of people are putting Henderson in there. I personally would probably save him as what we've talked about, like the closer, because if it's a game that it's like 1-0 and you bring on Henderson and like just after halftime, against Derby County, you're pretty much going to just let him dictate the pace for the rest of the game. And somebody else like Jones gets a start and doesn't have to go just fucking live out on the wing and do nothing and feel
Actually, I
shitty
was
about
thinking
himself.
he would probably be the guy on the left wing. I had Hendo, Basetic, and Carvalho in midfield.
Yeah, there's a couple kids down the academy in the midfield that I think are really on the brink of like shit or get off the pot guys. And like on the
That's a
first
good one.
team,
I hadn't heard that one in a while.
on the first time on the first team it's definitely Jones, but there's guys like Jake Kane down there that are like, all right, you keep touting these kids and saying if they're like the future and they've played like 3 first team games in 4 years, I don't have high hopes for the future then. So if you're not gonna like give them any run, what and you're not loaning them out, what's the fucking point? But yeah,
At the
I
same
had
time, let me play devil's advocate over here because it's what
yeah.
I do best at American Scouser. Do you also want to, for people like us and for fans in general, if the kid is not totally ready or you feel like this is not a good situation for him, do you want to put the kid out there just to show himself and kind of maybe not get a good performance out of him, which will demoralize them and kind of like probably curb their growth in some ways? I know every player is different. Some guys have, like a guy like Jones, who Sparky was saying is not good enough, and I do agree, but he seems mostly a guy with like short-term memory. Like we talk about, like in American football, you talk about like cornerbacks. To be a good one, you got to have short-term memory because you're gonna get beat, but you got to be able to do the same like in the next play. I just feel like some of these young guys might not be ready for that. You throw them in a situation where they're not ready to see. Let's see what you got, kid, because that's like another like 40,000 people saying, "Let's see what this kid has got." And if you kind of like crack under that pressure on that day and not perform, are you screwing the kid over big time?
Well, in that regard, if this is if they're not ready for Derby County in a midweek game before a World Cup break, then they're probably never going to be ready, and you should probably let them go to another team.
Hmm. That's an interesting thing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess depends on the kid too. I'm not talking like when I say
Yeah,
kid, I don't mean Jones and stuff anymore. I mean
well, yeah,
like
Jones is
the
one of those.
Polish
Yeah,
Messi, for example. Like we were talking about him yesterday. Like will we ever see him? Because you rarely see the kid, and he's been like hurt and stuff like that, obviously. But that says Milner will start. I would think. I think if he's available, but I was under the impression he was not.
I
So
think he's still under the concussion protocol.
the one that we trotted him back out there to play
Yeah,
after it happened, like 10 seconds after,
protocol
and we're
written
like,
in
"You're good,
pencil.
you're good. You're just a little woozy." Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, score prediction.
I'm gonna. I can't even with a group of kids. I cannot see this Derby County team the way it's constructed beating our like bot like our fucking water boys. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
two
man, are they
nothing.
this bad? I have not looked into them that much, but Jesus.
It's not good. Yeah. I'll pull it up real quick just as a kind of like final salvo for everybody, just to kind of show you uh, what
See,
the deal is.
Sparky, man, he's like 1-1 and then win on penalties. That's just shit that we do not need. Does it go
No,
straight to penalties, right? After 90 minutes?
I think so this year. I think they've gotten rid of all of those other lovely things that
Because,
the
I
Joe
mean,
wanted.
that's basically what probably, Derby County is playing for at the end of the day for a draw. And then, or, like see if maybe they get lucky on one of these counters or a set piece or something like
Yeah,
that.
they've scored 20 goals and let up 15 in League One. So
Damn. Ellen says, Trevor, you're on top form this morning. What's in your morning coffee? I think that's the key.
the nectar of life.
Yeah, that's the key. He's off of the seltzers in the morning. So it's
Yeah,
like a whole new Trevor. Time to
I
quit those
decided
seltzers,
to
man.
be
It's
an
curbing
adult.
your. I'm going with a 3-1 win. I'm hoping, it's like Daz is saying, it's a good mix we put out there. And I am, not only I'm going to say 3-win, I'm putting it right here. There's an Ox goal today. Write this shit
Oh,
down.
jeez.
Oh yeah, baby. I'm going all the way in. But we will talk about this game tomorrow morning show. Until then, enjoy the game today, guys. Have a great hump day, and then we'll be back tomorrow morning. Take care.